Hi everyone, welcome back to the Comptia Security Plus course, Social Engineering, User Education and Facilities Security. When I say people, I mean both kinds of people. Social engineers who might try to exploit your organization and the employees of an organization. In this chapter and the next, we'll discuss how to protect employees' privacy while still protecting your infrastructure from them. Policies and procedures can help protect legitimate individuals and help protect the infrastructure from malicious individual and social engineers. And organizations' facilities include the building and its environmental controls, vehicles, and anything else owned by the organization. Everything is connected these days, so everything needs to be protected. Server rooms and data centers can be protected through the use of fire suppression systems, shielding, and more. But even those systems and other systems, such as electrical systems, should be implemented with an eye on security at all times. The concepts covered in this chapter are a bit of a hodgepodge. Content is less about computers and more on the periphery of the technology security, but I've tried to line everything up in a way that will make for easier reading and recall. We start with social engineering. No matter how much technology you implement, people still have to deal with people, and that opens the door for con artists. Then we'll move on to user education. The best way to prevent social engineering attacks is to increase your users' knowledge. Finally, we'll get into the organization's building and facilities. It's all connected. Attackers who use social engineering methods will target users and the facilities of an organization. Social engineering. Let's discuss how a low note in our society, because that is what information security based social engineering is, a low form of behavior but an effective one. It is estimated that 1 out of 10 people is conned every year through social engineering methods, and many as half of them don't even know it has occurred. It's glorified in the movies, but in real life, it can have devastating consequences to organizations and to innocent individuals. We mentioned in Chapter 1, Introduction to Security, that social engineering is the act of manipulating users into revealing confidential information or performing other actions detrimental to the user. Examples of social engineering are common in everyday life. A basic example would be a person asking for your username and password over the phone. Often the person uses flattery to gain information. Malicious people use various forms of social engineering in an attempt to steal whatever you have of value: your money, information, identity, confidential company data, or IT equipment. Social engineering experts use techniques and principles such as the following: authority, imitation, bold impersonation, urgency, scarcity, and even emergency. The grooming of trust, familiarity, liking, persistence, and patience relating to the user, using company jargon, consequences, popular decision, and social facts and proof. Embedding of questions within the conversation. Social engineers will rely on information. For example, open source intelligence, OSINT, is a way that attackers can gain knowledge about a target. OSINT includes media, public government, commercial data, and academic publications. That's one of the reasons I don't accurately detail specific exploits in this book, because it could be a source of data for a potential attacker. Social engineers can also use tools as social networking sites and P2P software to obtain information disclosure, either directly or through data aggregation. The main reason that social engineering succeeds is due to a lack of user awareness, but social engineering can also be effective in environments in which the IT personnel have little training in public areas, for example, public buildings with shared office space. Let's discuss some of the more common types of social engineering. Pretexting. Pretexting is when someone invents a scenario or pretext in the hope of persuading a victim to divulge information. preparation, and some prior information are often needed before attempting a pretext. Impersonation is often a key element. By impersonating the appropriate personnel or third-party entities, a person performing a pretext hopes to obtain records about an organization, its data, and its personnel. IT people and employees should always be on the lookout for impersonators and always ask for identification. If there is any doubt, the issue should be escalated to your supervisor and or call should be made to the authorities. Malicious insider. The malicious insider is one of the most insidious threats. Instead of impersonating personnel as is done in pretexting, the person actually becomes personnel. The attack is often used as part of a corporate espionage plan. Think that all IT techs are 100% honorable. In high tech, you will find an assortment of atrocities, including malicious insider threat. The insider might have been sent by a competing organization to obtain a job consulting position within a certain company, or perhaps is approached by the competing organization while already working for the company that is the target. It is often initiated by organizations from another country. Once the insider is situated, that person can easily get access to secure data, P2 financials, engineering plans, and so on, and pass them on to the infiltrating organization. Of course, the penalties for this are high, but the potential rewards can be quite enticing to the potentially motivated individual. Companies will therefore often run through background checks and credit checks and have human resources go through an entire set of psychological questions. Then when a person is hired, there's a sort of trial period where the person is allowed very little access to secure data and secure environments. Now, a malicious insider doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It could be a device or a bug that was inserted into the organization by a person using social engineering skills. For example, rogue pin pad devices, audio, video sensors, bug keyloggers, and so on. This requires a physical access to the building in one way or another. So identification and authentication become of paramount importance. Warning. As of the writing of this book, malicious insider threats are severely underappreciated by many organizations. They shouldn't be, because the malicious insider has the best chance of obtaining a desired result, a far better chance than the outsider. Think about it. If you wanted to steal 100,000 credit card numbers so that you could charge $1 to each of them, making a fortune but causing no great stress to the credit card holders, how would you do it? Would you attempt a whole lot of MITM attacks? Would you try to hack through the bank's firewall and IDS, IPS, tiptoe around the honeypot and so on? Or would you attempt to get inside? The risk is greater, of course, for the person. It is much easier to get caught, but the potential for success outweighs the risk in comparison to try and hack the system from the outside. The number of compromises to banks and chains of stores done in this manner is staggering. Diversion theft. Diversion theft is when a thief attempts to take responsibility for a shipment by diverting the delivery to a nearby location. This happens more often than you would think, and millions of dollars worth of IT equipment is stolen in this manner every day. It is important that couriers and other shippers know exactly where they are supposed to be delivering items, and that they are given an organization contact name, number, and possible security code in case there is any confusion. Phishing. Phishing is an attempt at fraudulently obtaining private information. A phisher usually masquerades as someone else, perhaps another entity. There are two main differences between phishing and pretexting. First, Phishing is usually done by electronic communication, not in person. Second, little information about the target is necessary. A phisher may target thousands of individuals without much concern as to their background. An example of phishing would be an email that requests verification of private information. The email probably leads to a malicious website designed to lure people into a false sense of security to fraudulently obtain information. The website looks like a legitimate website. A common phishing technique is to pose as a vendor, such as an online retailer or domain registrar, and send the target email confirmations of orders that they supposedly placed. First, the orders are obviously fake. A person might say, hey, wait, I didn't place these orders, and perhaps clicks the link in the email, leading the person to a false web page. Second, if a person thinks it's a legitimate order, perhaps the person does many orders and the fraudulent one looks like any other legitimate one. The person might click on the link to track the order, again leading to a bogus web page. Third, once at the web page, the person is asked to enter her credentials for her account, which then leads to credit card fraud and ID theft, and in the unsuspecting person to exit. Generally, no information about the target is necessary for a phishing attack. However, some fishermen actually target specific groups of people or even specific individuals. This is known as spear phishing, and when an attacker targets senior executives, CEOs, CFOs, and so on, it is known as whaling. Whaling attacks are much more detailed and require that the attacker know a good deal of information about the target. The concept of phishing is accompanied by telephone phishing, known as phishing. Works in the same manner as phishing, but is initiated by a phone call, often using VoIP systems. The phone call often sounds like a pre-recorded message from a legitimate institution, bank, online retailer, donation collector, and so on. The message asks the unsuspecting person for confidential information such as a name, bank account numbers, codes, and so on, all under the guise of needing to verify information of the person's protection. It's really the opposite, of course, and many people are caught unawares by these types of scams every day. By using automated systems such as the ones telemarketers use, phishing can be perpetrated on a large group of people with little effort. Many different types of social engineering are often lumped into what is referred to as phishing, but actually phishing for private information is normally limited to email and websites. To defend against this, a phishing filter or add-on should be installed and enabled on a web browser. Also, a person should be trained to realize that institutions will not call or email requesting private information. If people are not sure, they should hang up the phone and simply delete the email. A quick way to find out whether an email is phishing for information is to hover over a link. You will see a URL domain name in the far different from that of the institution that the phisher is claiming to be, probably a URL located in a distant country. Many of these phishers are also probably engaging in spy phishing, a combination of spyware and phishing that effectively makes use of spyware applications. A spyware application of this sort is downloaded to the target, which then enables additional phishing attempts that go beyond the initial phishing website. Hoaxes. A hoax is an attempt at deceiving people into believing something that is false. The difference between hoax and phishing can be quite grey. However, hoaxes can come in person or through other means of communication, whereas phishing is generally relegated to e-communication and phone. Although phishing can occur at any time with the specific goal of obtaining private information, a hoax can often be perpetrated on holidays or other special days and could be carried out simply for fun. Regardless, hoaxes can use up valuable organization resources, email replies, internet bandwidth used, time spent, and so on On an example of a harmless hoax was Google's supposed name change to Topeka on April Fool's Day 2010. An example of a financially harmful hoax was supposed assassination of Bill Gates on April Fool's Day 2003. The hoax led to a stock market fluctuations and loss of profits in Asia. Some companies place a time limit on jokes and hoaxes, indicating that the affected person has become non-productive. For example, 3% of the workday pretexting, malicious insider attempts, diversion theft, phishing, and hoaxes are well known as confidence tricks, and thus the term con and are committed by bunco artists. However, there are even lower ways to get access to people's information. These are often used with the previous methods. These include shoulder surfing, eavesdropping, dumpster diving, baiting, and piggybacking. Shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing is when a person uses direct observation to find out a target's password, PIN, or other such authentication information. The simple resolution for this is for the user to shield the screen keypad or other user authentication requesting devices. A more aggressive approach is to courteously ask the suspected shoulder surfer to move along. Also, private information should never be left on a desk or out in the open. Computers should be locked or logged off when the user is not in the immediate area. From a more technical perspective, password masking can be implemented if not already, where typed passwords only show as asterisks and dots on the screen. Always check if your system's applications and devices use password masking. Some lesser devices such as SOHO routers may not implement password masking by default, and that might go against company policy due to the inherent lack of security. Shoulder surfing along with eavesdropping and dumpster diving are examples of no-tech hacking. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping is when a person uses direct observation to listen into a conversation. This could be a person hiding around the corner or a person tapping into a phone conversation. Soundproof rooms are often employed to stop eavesdropping, and encrypted phone sessions can also be implemented. Dumpster diving. Dumpster diving is when a person literally scavenges for private information in garbage and recycling containers. Any sensitive documents should be stored in a safe place as long as possible. When they are no longer necessary, they should be shredded. Some organizations incinerate their documents. Information might be found not only on paper, but also on hard drives or removable media. Proper recycling and or destruction of hard drives is covered later in this chapter. Baiting. Baiting is when a malicious individual leaves malware-infected removable media such as a USB drive or optical disc lying around in plain view. It might have an interesting logo or distinctive look about it. When a person takes and connects it to his computer, the malware infects the computer and attempts to take control of it, and or the network computer is a member of piggybacking. Tailgating. Piggybacking is when an unauthorized person tags along with an unauthorized person to gain entry to a restricted area, usually with the person's consent. Tailgating is essentially the same, with one difference. It is usually without the authorized person's consent. Both of these can be defeated through the use of man traps. A man trap is a small space that can usually only fit one person. It has two sets of interlocking doors. The first set must be closed before the other will open, creating a sort of waiting room where people are identified and cannot escape. This technique is often used in server rooms and data centers. Multi-factor authentication is often used in conjunction with a man trap. For example, using a proximity card and PIN at the first door and biometric scan at the second. A man trap is an example of our preventative security control. Turnstiles, double entry doors, and employing security guards are other less expensive and less effective solutions to the problem of piggybacking and tailgating to help address confidentiality in general. Watering hole attack. The watering hole attack is a strategy that targets users based on the common websites that they frequent. The attacker loads malware beforehand on one or more websites in the hopes that the users will access those sites and activate the malware, ultimately infecting the user system and possibly spreading through the network. To figure out the browsing habits of the users, the attacker might guess or use direct observation. So this attack may also build upon other social engineering methods such as eavesdropping, pretexting, and phishing. Popular websites such as Google, Microsoft, and so on will be difficult to infect with malware. It's the smaller websites that the attackers will go after. For example, let's take a company that manufactures widgets. Chances are the company will need to purchase plastic and other resources to build the widgets. It follows that users will connect to suppliers' websites, often via the internet or possibly an intranet. Typically, suppliers' websites are known for lack of security and make excellent targets. If many users in the company go to these same websites, and often it's just a matter of time before one clicks on the wrong website element and gets tricked in another manner, then the malware gets installed to the computer and possibly spreads throughout the company. An attacker might also redirect users to other websites where other scams or more hardcore hardware such as ransomware are located. The problem is that you as a security administrator can't actively prevent the malware on the targeted websites. You can suggest prevention methods to those companies, such as software patches and secure coding, but can't force them into action. So you should focus on localized prevention methods, including user training, reduced web browsing functionality, blacklisting of websites, and monitoring in the form of anti-malware software, IDS, IPS, and more essentially, all of the methods we have discussed earlier in this book. Summary of social engineering types. Table 17.1 summarizes the various types of social engineering we've discussed in this section. Type description: pretexting, when a person invents a scenario or pretext in the hope of persuading a victim to divulge information. Malicious insider threat, when a person works at an organization with the secret purpose of obtaining secret information, financial information, design work. And P2, diversion theft, when a thief attempts to take responsibility for a shipment by delivering the delivery to a nearby location. Phishing, the attempt at fraudulently obtaining private information, usually done electronically. Phishing is done by phone. Spear phishing, target specific individuals. Whaling targets senior executives. Hoax, the attempt at deceiving people into believing something that is false. Shoulder surfing, when a person uses direct observation to find out a target's password, PIN, or other such authentication information. Eavesdropping, when a person uses direct observation to listen into a conversation. This could be a person hiding around a corner or a person tapping into a phone conversation. Dumpster diving, when a person literally scavenges for private information in garbage and recycling containers. Baiting, when a malicious individual leaves malware-infected removable media such as a USB drive or optical disc lying around in plain view in the hopes that unknowing people will bring it back to their computer and access. Piggybacking, tailgating, when an unauthorized person tags along with an authorized person to gain entry to a restricted area. Watering hole attack, when an attacker targets users' specific browsing habits in the hopes that they will access particular websites and activate the malware hidden within them. In some cases, social engineering is easier than others. More technical ways of hacking information, for example, if a malicious individual wanted a person's password, it might be a lot easier to trick the person into giving her password than trying to crack it. So I'm going to leave here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.